What comes next is really insane. Enjoy the videos while subscribing. In the early 2000s, Vampire Freaks was a social networking site built for goths, emos, and alternate teens who didn't feel like they belonged anywhere else. Users could share photos, write blog posts, and join public forums filled with dark music, edgy comments, and strangers from all over the world. And while most users saw it as harmless, one girl would end up meeting someone, one who would pull her into something that could never be undone. It's able to. 3rd 2006 in the quiet neighborhood of Southview, Medicine Hat, a young boy walks over to his friend's house to play, but after knocking and getting no answer, he steps off the porch and looks through the basement window when he sees someone dying. Completely still shocked by what he saw, he runs back home and has a smile. She immediately called the police. Check on what's going on, and when officers arrived at the house, they find the front door unlocked and everything inside eerily quiet. As they step in and begin searching, they come across the horrifying scene. In the basement, a man and a woman have been stabbed to death, and upstairs they find the lifeless body of a boy in his bed, still surrounded by the stuffed animals she always sleeps with. The question is, how did this exactly happen in the first place? Jasmine was a year-old girl known for expressing herself as a dark and gothic person online. She would eventually create an account on vampirefreaks.com and their username Runaway Devil, along with others like Excalibur, Kitty and X Mayhem. And from there, her profile would be filled in photos of her in thick eyeliner wearing goth clothing and even posing with fake guns, with her listing her interests as piercings, tattoos and loud music, which is very typical for an emo teen in the mid-2000s. In March 2006, Jasmine would decide to go out with her friends to one of the many local punk shows playing around the area, and as soon as they arrive they will start enjoying their show. There she meets the guy in his early 20s wearing a necklace with blood in it. His name is Jeremy Stinker, and throughout their conversation he would ask how old she is, and she would tell him that she's even though her actual age is only. But much to her surprise, Jeremy's reaction doesn't seem bothered by the age gap. Instead, he tells her that he's 23 and they both exchange their online profiles and leave for the reason to keep in touch. After going back home, Jasmine quickly adds Jeremy on Vampire Freaks under the username SoulEater52 and soon follows him on a couple of other sites. From there, they will start talking every day, with Jeremy telling her that he's a 300-year-old werewolf who drinks blood regularly, and that the necklace he wears is filled with blood in case he ever gets the urge. As the months go by, the chats will grow more frequent and more personal, and Jeremy's mindset will slowly start to rub off on her. The way they speak begins to change, with their messages turning disturbingly romantic and obsessive. Jasmine would start dressing more gothic too, and take on a darker personality, mirroring Jeremy's behavior completely. Eventually the two of them would also begin referring to each other as a couple on Vampire Freaks. In one of the messages he would write, "Gods, I can't get over not seeing or talking to you. I yearn to hear your soft, subtle voice and long to be held in your arms wherever that may be. I don't care. There isn't anything that could ever replace the way you make me feel. I miss you, I love you, and I wish that we could just go somewhere." Not long after that, as some kind of proof of his love, Jeremy sends Jasmine a vial of his own blood, just like the one he wears around his own neck, and it doesn't take long for the relationship to spill into real life. Jasmine's parents, Mark and Deborah, would also soon become horrifyingly aware that their daughter has been talking to an adult boyfriend online. At first they tried to stay calm and understand what's going on. What if is seeing the way Jeremy talks to her and learning more about them. They immediately cut him off by grounding Jasmine, taking her computer away and leaving her with no way to reach him at all. However, after doing what her parents asked for a while, Desmond somehow gets back in contact with Jeremy, only this time she's a lot more careful with hiding their relationship from them. Jeremy, however, is still furious about what they did, and he sends her a message, lashing out in a violent poem that makes this anger disturbingly clear. My lover's parents are totally unfair. They don't know what's going on and just assume. She's slowly going insane. She continues to think that I came their throats and want to stay. Shall pay for their insolence. Finally there shall be silence, their blood shall be payment. And if you think the poem's end of it, you'd be completely wrong. It's the idea that they couldn't be together while her parents were still in the way starts frustrating them. Both of them would begin joking about getting rid of them and living together forever. Jasmine would even respond to the poem by sending him a message saying, "I missed you more than killing people. Can we get together and kill people raw? I hate them, so I have this plan. It begins with me killing them and ends with me living with you." Jeremy replies telling her he loves the plan. But he'd need to be creative and how they go about it. Meanwhile, her parents actually think that Jasmine is doing better. Ever since they kept her away from Jeremy, and even their youngest 8-year-old Tyler Jacob has just started going to school. Everything seems to be going fine on the Sunday morning of April 23, 2006, as the whole neighborhood was going out about their daily lives. A young boy will call Lewis heads out to play with Jasmine's brother Tyler, but after knocking on their door multiple times, no one's responding. This strikes Lewis as strange, as not only are the richest son always home on Sundays, their car is also sitting right there in the driveway. Curious about it, Lewis steps off the porch and walks over to the side window facing the basement. It's hard to see inside at first, but once his eyes adjust, he notices someone lying flat on the floor. Knowing that something was seriously wrong, he rushes back home, and the instant he arrives he tells his mother what he just saw, and so she called the police right away. As soon as they arrived at the house, the first thing they notice is that the door is actually unlocked, so they go inside and head to the basement, and they find not just one, but two bodies on the ground in a pool of their own blood. Mark and Deborah Richardson. The officers quickly secured the area and begin searching the rest of the home. Upstairs they find Tyler lying motionless in his bed. He passed away in the same way as his parents. From what it seems, all three had suffered multiple stab wounds, and judging by the scene, it looked like they were attacked while completely off guard. There was no sign of forced entry either, and nothing inside the house was actually stolen. But as they took a closer look around and see the family pictures on the walls, it becomes clear that the riches and family is made up of just 3 people, a young girl who we know as Jasmine. Dismissing from the scene, the police assumed that the murders were the result of a home invasion, and that Jasmine had been taken by the same person or people who killed her family. And so soon after, the police would begin working non-stop to find the girl. They start looking into her school and her friend group and are soon given access to her school records, including what's inside her locker. What they find in there points to something completely strange. Alongside her usual school stuff, they find a hand-drawn stick figure comic. It shows a family going for a walk until one of them breaks off and walks over to a man's truck. From there, the two would then gradually pour gasoline onto the other 3 family members and set them on fire, standing there as they screamed. And after seeing this, the police took it upon themselves to stop treating Jasmine's disappearance like a kidnapping, and with the man's name written on the comic as Jeremy, they finally have someone to look for. They start questioning several of Jasmine's friends, and they're able to come up with a lead and identified the man as Jeremy Allen Steinke. Based on what they're saying, he was obsessed with Jasmine, and constantly doing just about anything to keep her attention. And to make things even worse, they also say that Jasmine had often talked about taking the lives of her own parents. And with those tips combined with the trail of proof gathered online like messages, emails and chat logs, the officials quickly figured out the motive. Afterwards, the news of the suspected killers spread across the country. Knowing the small community of Medicine Hat into a wave of shock and disgust because of this huge wave of attention. This would end up being the thing that would take them down, as shortly after they get spotted at a gas station less than 100 miles away from the city. It turns out that spent the last 24 hours hanging out with friends who either weren't aware of what they did or thought they were just messing around. Jasmine and Jeremy were seen laughing about it, describing how they took the lives of her family in full detail, treating the whole thing like some sort of joke. Eventually, Jeremy's truck gets successfully tracked in a field by the officers, and it's discovered that this is the place that two of them spend their night together. They fully surround the area and actually arrest both Jeremy and Jasmine right away on the suspicion of ending the lives of 3 people. Once they're taken into custody, officers would begin a full interrogation to figure out what really happened that night, and both of them would start talking. Jeremy would claim that Jasmine had begged him to help get rid of her parents no matter what it took, and since he supposedly would do anything to keep her, he says he had no choice to go through with it. On the other hand, Jasmine quickly throws Jeremy under the bus by telling them that he's the only person who did the crime. She says that she was only talking about taking the lives of her family as a joke and never actually intended to follow through with the plan that they make. However, officers are able to figure out that Jeremy's version actually lines up more than Jasmine. The huge amounts of online messages showed that the two of them had stuck to their plan from the very beginning, and even though they both tried to push their own version of what happened, investigators eventually figured out how the entire thing happened. It all starts on the night of April 22nd when Jasmine secretly lets Jeremy was wearing a mask inside the house. He then quietly makes his way to the basement. Down there Deborah was doing the laundry, and that's when Jeremy pulls out a 6-inch folding knife and lunges at her. Deborah would scream and call for help, which actually woke Marka. He rushed towards the basement, and the second he would get there he would see his wife on the floor with a strange man standing over her. Upon seeing this, Mark would rush towards Jeremy and tackle trying to wrestle the knife out of his hands. But as the two of them fought on the ground, Jeremy would manage to stab him over and over again. Upstairs, as all of this was happening, Jasmine would quietly walk into her brother's room, with him now awake in the bed. And just like they planned, he would end the life of her own brother just like that. And after all of that, they would spend the next whole day together, expressing a severe lack of remorse, and they've even been spotted cuddling and kissing in a restaurant before visiting their friends and bragging about what they did. And only a year later, in June 2007, the two of them would finally be put on trial separately for the murders of the Richardson family. And since Jeremy was already an adult, he's tried under the full extent of the law. His defense argued that he was just a weak-willed, immature man with a history of abuse from his mother's boyfriend, but none of them would work in his favor. So Jeremy would end up getting 3 life sentences with 25 years before he's even eligible for parole. Jasmine, on the other hand, would actually say anonymous throughout her trial and is only referred to as Junior. But with all of the evidence stacked against her, she's also found guilty of murdering her mother, father, and little brother. And she would get 10 years now after actually serving this time, and with years of therapy and being fully cut off from Jeremy, she would slowly start to show what some people call remorse. And with the cases, Judge Scott Brooker even stating, "I think your parents and brother would be proud of you. Clearly you can't undo the past. You can only live each day with the knowledge you can control how you behave and what you do each day." For the last 5 years of a sentence, Jasmine would actually attend a university in Calgary while still under supervision. And by 2016 she was officially released, now living quietly among the public. And while some people believe that the 10 years is far too short for what she did, others argued that she was just a young person making a mistake, manipulated by a deranged adults. Her record's been wiped clean, and since then, Jasmine likely goes by a different name and hasn't been in any trouble. Jeremy, on the other hand, is still locked up.